Yeah, biggest mistakes I see shops making, one is, like we talked about, they don't have a business plan. They don't have procedures, processes in their shop. So that's some of the biggest mistakes. They don't invest back into their self. They see screen printing as a more DIY or an art where it is a business. And if you can't get out of that mentality, growth, you're going to get run over by your competition. Everybody is competition. I think people tend to compare themselves to another shop instead of just doing what you can do better and make a better experience for your customer.
A big mistake that I see shops making, and certainly a big mistake that I feel like I made, is trying to grow too fast. It takes a lot of cash to grow fast, and it also opens you up or makes you susceptible to huge mistakes. If you don't really clearly write down your processes, you got to build a house from the foundation up, right? If you start trying to reach for the stars and get giant customers and you really don't know how to service them or take care of them or print the shirts that they need, you're going to screw up, you're going to stumble, you're going to make really costly mistakes that will end up putting you out of business.
Systems, some of the things we've covered already, not investing in the right places, not investing in yourself, I think that's generally probably the biggest. Not investing is a huge mistake, trying to cut corners, but putting in systems, and a part of that's processes, but another part of it is investing in a system that runs your business. And it's hard to find in this industry. A lot of times you have to dig it for, put a couple of systems together, web system and a shop management system together. So when you can find a system that allows you to run your business, that's huge.
As a consultant, I definitely have a different view of what goes on than some of the others. It's amazing to me, you'll take the owner of a company, decent size, and they have a college education, maybe even a business one, and they'll hire a business consultant. And when you ask them why, it's like, well, I can't see the big picture, so I've hired a consultant to help me see that. Okay, what about a consultant in the production area? Oh no, I have a production manager for that. You have a degree in business and you're hiring someone, your production manager, chances are, even if they have a degree, it certainly is not in screen printing. And you're not willing to spend the money to try and bring them up to speed. Does not make sense. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes is most owners are front office people and they don't understand the back. And so what happens is they definitely put more emphasis on their salespeople, et cetera, and not enough on their production people. Salespeople can make a ton of money. Production people definitely have to struggle a lot more, and they shouldn't. If you're doing a killer job, then you should be compensated appropriately. So to me, that being a production person, I kind of look at it from that side. My biggest account I worked with for over 20 years, and it's like, really? Why? I'd go up there 1, 2, 3 times a year. Some years I didn't go up at all, but as they wanted to grow and as they wanted to get into more interesting stuff, more things that would bring them the type of business they wanted, they would bring me up. When they wanted to move, they would bring me up to check out facilities that they could move into. And I remember having a situation where I flew in, looked at some buildings, flew out, and shortly after that they said, you need to come back. We're looking at this particular building, and I asked them what the size was and told them, no, I'm not coming back up. It's not big enough. I have my own feelings about how big things should be. I think when you move from one spot to another, you need at least 3 to 4 times the size of what you were in order to have enough room to grow. The building that they finally went into was almost 4 times the size of what they had been in. And they are comfortable in that and do well out of that.
One of the biggest mistakes that most shop owners make is they try to grow too fast and they try to do things that they're not comfortable doing. They get away from their core competencies. Somebody will come in and offer them the seduction of fast money doing something, and they'll go, sure, we'll do that, and all of a sudden they're doing something that isn't what they started out to do. And they realize that the majority of our industry, especially with screen printing, as you grow, it's all about the logistics and the data management much more than it is about the decoration. I was just talking to my wife last night as I was getting ready to come out here that there was some beautiful artwork that had been done by some people that was put up on Facebook, and I lamented that we hadn't been able to print anything like that because our customers weren't willing to pay for it. We've gotten away from what we used to be good at, which was really good, pure photo process. And now we haven't done any of that to the point that I'm not sure my equipment would do it because we haven't maintained it to be able to do that.
So some of the biggest mistakes I see people making, because I have had the opportunity to go in many, many shops. I guess I'm a pretty trustworthy guy, so people let me in their shops, even people that don't let many people in, so I've got to see what a lot of people do. I'd say the biggest mistake I see, and it's corroborated by other friends I have that are suppliers that go in a lot of shops, is most people don't adequately cure the ink. Because just because it's dry to the touch doesn't mean it's not going to wash off. A lot of people do not adequately cure the ink, and it's very hard to tell because on that cold, wet morning in March in New England, you set your dryer for a lot different temperature and speed than you might on the driest day in July when it's 100 degrees. So just that example alone. There's no one way to do some of these things, and you really have to have the experience. And people always want that simple answer. What do I set my dryer for? I don't know. Figure it out. And you have to figure it out, or you're going to send out shirts that aren't cured.
Buying a piece of machinery, not doing all my research, not checking UCCs. It's very important when you buy a machine. You check people's UCC, you get a bill of sale, you get a receipt. If you don't know about your machines, you contact somebody that does, you have them inspect the machine. Don't buy anything sight unseen unless you're very, very handy. It could cost you a lot of money in the end.
The biggest mistake is not really understanding the process or procedures. And they get to a situation where they're too busy to work on it. So Henry Ford taught us about the assembly line. And what we do is not assembly line kind of work. It is, the order comes in, the art gets made, the screens get made. So in many ways it is kind of an assembly line, except it's a creative assembly line where we're expected to bring humanity to that process. And if you just want robots, like Henry Ford, you've got to build exactly the same thing every time. And as we know that every 5 years the industry gets some sort of an upheaval. So we're all now on another water-based extravaganza, which is what happened in 1980 and 1995. And then there was a discharge revolution in 2005. And now it seems like the water base is going to take over the world. So these things go in cycles that if you don't stop and work on the process so that your company understands how to use the process, the jobs will take care of themselves. Getting the jobs out will take care of themselves. It's when you're just trying to get work out, you're busy being busy, that's a catastrophe.
One of the biggest things I did was put too much trust in somebody that I thought could really handle their job. Unfortunately, they had a lot of outside things going on in their life, and this person was in a higher up position in my company, and I didn't recognize the impact, the negative impact that was happening in the business with morale, with clients, missing orders, and a lot of different things. And as a result, we lost quite a bit of money, but we caught it in enough time to pivot at the end of this year, make some changes for 2019, and we're flying. We've got the biggest people in the state of Ohio calling us to work for us. If you're ever hesitant based on a relationship that you have with somebody in your company and making a decision on what to do with that person, look at the numbers, and if the numbers are right, they don't lie. So execute on those.